死なないために死ぬほど準備することなんて絵にひねやらたことでしょう。光栄だけど買いかぶりっすよ。
Hello guys, it's me Simo Urahara, and in this video I'll talk about a topic related to Kaname Tosen and Aizen Sosuke. Why did Aizen kill Tosen? There is no doubt that many didn't understand what happened in the death scene of Tosen. I personally didn't understand what happened there, and it seemed as if Aizen was just want to get rid of Tosen like what he did with Halle Bell, because she is no longer useful to him. For that, when I had watched that scene, I said to myself, were Tosen's feelings in those moments like those of Halle Bell? Feelings full of shock and treachery and betrayal? And the answer actually is no. The truth is something else. The truth reveals one of the distinctive aspects of the story of Tosen and Aizen and their relationship to one of the deepest topics in Bleach's story, the nobles. And the answer to our question is found in the novel of Can't Fear Your Own World. Before we get to the answer, it is okay to put everyone in the context of events so that everyone knows the answer in its full details. As is known, before Tosen became a Shinigami, he had met a soul, which is a girl named Kakyo. Tosen's relationship with Kakyo was a special one, but one day Kakyo came to Tosen and told him that she was going to get married. And as a side note guys, I was wondering about the feelings of Tosen to Kakyo, because when she told him about her marriage, Kobo made this scene, and look how Tosen's face features were. Did Tosen love Kakyo, or did he just think that her marriage might mean the end of their relationship and therefore not being able to come and talk to him anymore? However, Kakyo reassured Tosen, and she told him that she will become a Shinigami and will fight the Hollows to bring peace and will come every time to meet him and tell him her stories. And she added that the person she will marry is a Shinigami. And this little point of Kakyo getting married with a Shinigami was the core of Can't Fear Your Own World novel. From that single information, Narita and Kobo bring out a lot of events that have something to do with this marriage. In the manga, Kobo has given us only a brief glimpse into Tosen's story, so that when Kakyo married that Shinigami, the latter killed one of his friends, and when Kakyo wanted to interfere, he killed her too. And when Tosen learned about this, he went to demand justice for Kakyo in front of Rome 46, but he was arrested, and then he learned that Kakyo's killer will not be treated. Of course, this was the general concept in the manga, but the novel elaborated greatly on this important incident. The novel adds several important parties in the story, namely Aizen Sosuke and the nobles through the character Tsunayashiro Tokinada, the husband of Kakyo, who is noble soul from the branch of the great noble family Tsunayashiro. For example, we learned in the novel that originally Tokinada's marriage to Kakyo was not based on love or something like that. Tokinada's family insisted that Tokinada must marry a woman in order to do some experiments on her. And at some point he killed his colleague and Kakyo, and when he returned to his family he said that the reason for killing her was that he found her in the act of adultery with his colleague. And as a result of this, the family used its influence to protect Tokinada from being arrested. And only his Zanpakuto was confiscated, and he became just a soul and not a Shinigami anymore. Meanwhile, when Tosen learned of Kakyo's death, he didn't know that her husband was from one of the four noble families. He only knew that he was a Shinigami. And the novel tells us in detail what happened after this scene that we saw in the manga. After the guards stopped Tosen, a stranger came to him. Of course, Tosen, being blind, didn't know who that person was, but was only trying to form an imaginary image about him through his voice. That person was actually Tokinada, because Tokinada, since his childhood, was a malicious person who enjoys crushing the feelings of others, and he tried to manipulate Tosen's feelings so that he told him at first that he is Kakyo's friend and that he heard what happened to her and he is sorry that he wasn't able to prevent her death. Tokinada told Tosen that the killer of Kakyo was from one of the great noble families, and here the first features of the true image to Tosen began to form, so that the latter asked Tokinada, then why the Shinigami didn't arrest arrest the killer. Isn't that their job? Isn't that they must bring justice to the Soul Society? Here Tokinada will tell him the reality, that the Shinigami are in fact only serving the interest of the nobles in one way or another. And after that he told him the shocking truth, that the one he's talking to right now is actually Kakyo's killer, and that you, Tosen, can't do nothing about that. Tosen's shock was so great. How could someone talk so cold and easily when he is the murderer of his wife? Then Tokinada asked the guards to punish Tosen, and he left him with this painful truth. The Shinigami, who are believed to be defending justice, are actually just arms of nobles, most of whom are steeped in corruption. Tokinada was only a prominent example of this category that controls the fate of the Soul Society. Tosen was beaten by Tokinada and then was severely beaten by the guards as well. But someone will appear after that to stop this tragedy that he was subjected to. And of course this person is Aizen Sasuke. And we don't know exactly at what time Kakyo's killing took place, but it seems that Aizen at that time was not a vice captain, he was just an ordinary Shinigami. Aizen saved Tosen from the guards by activating the Kyokasuigitsu and making the guards hit each other. Thus, this was the first meeting between Tosen and Aizen Sasuke. But Tosen had learned a lesson from Tokinada, so he didn't fully trust Aizen Sasuke at first. But as time went by, Tosen began to notice that Aizen Sasuke was not like any other person. It's not like he made him by his side because Tosen is immune to Kyokasuigitsu since he is blind. No, as Tosen said about this point, if that was the case, Aizen would have killed him. Tosen's conviction finally met with what Aizen Sasuke was seeking for. Tosen wanted his revenge from the Shinigami and the nobles, who could not achieve justice. Justice for the murder of his friend Kakyo. And Aizen wanted to change the system, especially when Aizen told Tosen that the world is based on a sin, and that the king of the souls is just powerless thing, and that those who control the things are the nobles. All these things made Tosen completely believe that Aizen Sasuke is the one who should change the world to a new one. In the novel, exactly the third book, at the end of the penultimate chapter, a scene appeared of Aizen Sasuke inside the Muken, and Aizen sensed Tokinada's death, and thus he remembered Tosen, and he also remembered a conversation he had with Tosen in the past. So in that conversation, Aizen told Tosen about the wish he wants from him. Tosen told Aizen that if he wanted a wish, it would be one wish, which is, if one day Tosen accepts the word of the Shinigami as it is, meaning that he forgives them for killing Kakyo and accepts the idea of living among them and forgiving them, then Aizen must erase him from existence. And this was the main reason why Aizen Sasuke killed Tosen the way we saw in the manga. And that was Tosen's will to Aizen. Tosen never wanted the ember of his revenge to dim down. But there are always possibilities. Time and circumstances can make person change his mind or lose his passion over something, and one of those things is revenge. That's why Tosen thought about this possibility, so he told Aizen to kill him immediately if somehow was gonna forgive the Shinigami. Because if that happened, Tosen would see his existence as meaningless if he didn't achieve his revenge. He even told Aizen that he would kill himself even when Aizen would succeed in building a new world. Because Tosen doesn't want to change that world with his personality, which is based on revenge. And so, Tosen knew that he would die either way, whether he accepted the Shinigami world and Kakyo's death, or even if he became in Aizen Sasuke's new world. Also in the first part of the novel, I mean the first book, a conversation took place between Hisage and Aizen. After the end of the final battle of Yhwach and Ichigo, the Shinigami was preparing to bring back Aizen to the Muken. And at that moment, Hisage asked Aizen why he killed Tosen. Aizen told him that he did not kill him because of his defeat, but rather he killed him in order to save him from the pain of what would happen to him later. And so, it can be said that the story of Tosen and his death is one of the most important topics that deal with the important aspects of Bleach's story. So guys, what do you think about that? Tell me your opinions in the comments and see you guys in my next video.